Before dopamine was on demand, before distraction was constant, and long before validation was instant, the human brain developed differently. We live in an era where attention is the most expensive commodity on Earth. We are bombarded, stimulated, and hyper-connected. But if you look at the titans who built the modern world, the legends who define excellence today, they all share a common origin. They were forged in a world that was, by modern standards, painfully quiet. A world of silence, boredom, and waiting. This isn't a nostalgic rant about the good old days. This is a cold psychological autopsy of the environment that built Michael Jordan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Jeff Bezos. They are not just products of hard work. They are products of a neural environment that allowed for a depth of focus that has become biologically impossible for most people today. They were built before dopamine became a weapon, and that difference changed everything. Segment 1. The advantage of a slower world. To understand these legends, we have to understand the silent advantage. In the 60s and 70s, the brain had to tolerate massive amounts of dead time. There were no screens in your pocket to kill 10 seconds of waiting. There was no infinite scroll to numb the discomfort of boredom. In psychology, we know that boredom is actually a fertile ground for neural pruning and the development of the attention span. When the brain isn't constantly bombarded with external stimuli, it is forced to build internal structures. It develops a higher tolerance for monotony. While a modern brain is wired to seek a hit every few seconds, the 60s and 70s brain was wired for the long, steady pull. Deep focus became a competitive advantage because it was a natural state of being. You didn't practice concentration. You lived in it. This environment created a specific type of cognitive resilience, the ability to stay with a single problem, a single movement, or a single vision for months or years without needing a like to keep you going. These legends didn't build their legacies through excitement. They built them through sustained attention. Segment 2. Michael Jordan. Competition as identity. Consider Michael Jordan. Born in 1963, coming of age in the 70s. Most people see his highlights, but they miss his psychological architecture. Jordan's legendary competitiveness wasn't just about winning games. It was about an internal standard that functioned like a closed circuit. In a world before instant feedback, Jordan learned to create his own fuel. He famously manufactured slights and enemies out of nothing to keep his competitive fire burning. Why? Because his brain was wired to value the process of the struggle more than the validation of the trophy. For Jordan, competition rewired his perception of pain. When you are not distracted by the constant noise of what others think, your own standards become your only reality. Jordan didn't wait for a coach or the media to set the bar. He set it so high that it became a form of psychological isolation. For him, pain was not a reason to retreat. It was a signal for growth. He turned the lack of external stimulation into an internal furnace. He didn't play for the dopamine of the crowd. He played to satisfy a mind that refused to accept anything less than total dominance. Segment 3. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Visualization before validation. Then we have Arnold Schwarzenegger. Born in 1947, hitting his peak in the 70s. Arnold represents a psychological concept called cognitive rehearsal. In today's world, people post their goals on social media for immediate social currency before they've even started. Arnold did the opposite. He practiced extreme mental isolation. He would spend hours in a zone where the world ceased to exist, visualizing his muscles growing, seeing himself on the stage in America while he was still in a small village in Austria. Because he grew up in a world without constant distraction, his mental projections were incredibly vivid. His brain didn't differentiate between the vision and reality. He first built the legacy in his head, layer by neural layer, and only then did it manifest in the world. This is what we call neural confidence. He didn't need the world to tell him he was a champion. He had already watched the movie in his mind 10,000 times. Visualization wasn't a tactic for Arnold. It was a necessity in a world that moved slowly enough for a vision to take root. Segment 4. Jeff Bezos, Patience as a Strategy. Finally, look at Jeff Bezos, born in 1964. While he is the architect of the digital convenience we use today, his own mindset is a relic of the 60s and 70s. Bezos is the king of long-term thinking. In an era of quarterly earnings and instant pivots, Bezos built Amazon on a 10,000-year clock philosophy. He famously told investors that he was willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time. That level of patience is a direct result of a mind that isn't addicted to the short-term dopamine loop. When your formative years are spent in an environment where things take time to arrive, where you have to wait weeks for a package or years for a result, you develop a systemic patience. Bezos understands that greatness is not an explosive event. It is a compounded result of repeated, focused actions over decades. He ignored the short-term hype because his brain was wired to resist emotional volatility. He didn't build a company. He built a system that reflected his own ability to wait, endure, and concentrate. The central thesis, built in concentration. The central truth is this: before dopamine became constant, focus was natural. Before distraction became normal, depth was common. Modern legends like Jordan, Arnold, and Bezos were not built by the excitement of the new. They were built by the ability to repeat the old until it became perfect. They thrived because they could. Wait when others demanded instant results. Endure when the process became monotonous. Concentrate when the world around them was quiet. We are currently living through an experiment where we are trying to build greatness in a state of constant fragmentation. But the biology doesn't work that way. Excellence requires a price that the modern world is trying to discount. The price of deep, uninterrupted attention. Final blow. You cannot change the year you were born. You cannot go back to the 60s or 70s. But you can control the one thing that defines your potential: your dopamine consumption. Greatness is not about being faster than everyone else. It is about being slower to distract. It is about the ability to reduce the noise and extend the focus. Reduce the noise. Extend your focus. Train your patience, Meowed. Because the legends you admire were not built in the chaos of 1,000 notifications. They were built in the silence of concentration. They were built in the dark, in the quiet, and in the boring hours where no one was watching. Stop looking for the spark. Become the fire that burns without needing to be fed by the outside world. The world belongs to those who can still focus. I'll see you in the next one.